everyone, and welcome to next in our series of chats with local East Anglian business owners. And today I'm talking to Kristian Day from Insight Energy Renewables Limited. Good afternoon, Kristian. How are you?
Good afternoon. Yeah, very well. Thank you very much. All good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm really excited to have you on here to talk about renewable energy. It's a big high topic of conversation right now.
Yes, yeah. There's so much talk about it. You know, from the big domestic market through to like the commercial operators. You know, the sort of the industry sort of energy companies as well. So there's a lot of talk in many different sectors. So it's a exciting subject at the moment.
It is indeed. So why don't you tell me a bit more about your business then? What exactly do you guys do?
Well, it's my brother and I. We set up Insight Energy a few months ago, and we're focusing on solar panel installations, battery storage, which kind of goes hand in hand, along with low carbon heating for homes. So what they call air source and ground source heating, and also the electric car charging points. So all part of an ecosystem of a typical home, or will be in the future. And you can kind of have them individually on their own if you wanted to as well. So you kind of, it's a really very quick and fast moving market at the moment, and we're just trying to keep up with it at the moment, to be fair.
So wow, so it's only been 2 months or so since the business was set up. That, you know, so it really is.
Yeah, very fresh and new. There's been a fair bit of time in the making. Like with any business, it's, you know, we were trying to plan and understand the market and see where there was opportunities really. I think the exciting thing was that my brother, his background has been in construction and mechanical engineering for quite a few years, and he really wanted to do his own thing. I've always been involved in sales, and we thought we'd combine our skill sets to do our own thing. Really, it's quite daunting, but equally quite exciting. So it's that's how it all came about at the very beginning.
So tell me, why did you choose renewable energy? There must be a story behind that somewhere.
It was mainly driven by Adam, my brother. He's been involved in designing these products into large construction sites, hospitals, and all sorts of large buildings. And he saw an opportunity where the market was going that way. He had a real big interest in that. And to be fair, the more and more I understood about it, I saw an opportunity that I actually got quite excited about. I didn't know I did until I kind of started talking about it. And before I knew it, we were saying, you know, over a glass of wine, should we do this together? And it was a very unlikely partnership, if I'm honest, but it seems to be working pretty well at the moment. So fingers crossed.
Great to hear. Great to hear. So you know, if you were to describe to me your ideal client, what would your ideal client look like?
Really good question. I think at the moment, we're really focusing on small regional developers. Would be a really good sort of focus for us, because typically new builds as of 2025 will have the new low carbon heating involved in the houses. There's lots of other options, but heat source, air source heat pumps is a really good solution for that. And ultimately, you know, those developers are really trying to push the boundaries of what a sustainable house will look like. It seems to be a really good fit. If we were looking at a different market where you're looking at the domestic and sort of retrofits, they're very complicated, quite hard to get your head around. So, you know, I think in terms of where we want to focus our time is working with fellow professionals and in that new build sector.
Okay, so I mean, so when you sort of told me about what you, did I count? You've got about 4 target markets. So you've got EV chargers, you've got the market you just described, the domestic market. What was the 4th market?
Battery storage. Battery storage is a relatively new, well, not a new technology, but new in terms of a domestic market. So what you'll find in a few years' time, won't be long, a typical new build house will have some form of solar to generate electricity. You'll have a low carbon type of heating, and there'll be the option to either put the electricity that you don't use back into the grid, or you'll be able to capture it, which then ties in neatly with car charging, you know, overnight. You can, and that's kind of part of this ecosystem that, you know, houses will have to evolve to suit our our changing needs, really. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from.
So when do you guys anticipate that will become a standard requirement for all house builders then?
Cool, that's a good question. So in terms of the heating, that's around the corner. That's 2025. Right. They've already put into place no new builds will have fossil fuel heating, which is a really big line in the sand. Developers have to change.
That's a big
and
step.
What will naturally happen is they'll start challenging other technologies within the build. So they'll look at insulation, they'll look at electricity build generation. Some builders are really going the other way and almost getting to this carbon positive situation where actually the houses are actually beyond that target. But that's one of the big milestones. The other ones will come very quickly, mainly by consumer demand. So when you're looking at the car chargers, I've recently bought a fully electric car, and you need a charger. You can't do without one, really. So it is a really consumer demand, and government changes will really make that happen pretty quick.
Slightly off piece, but have you ever had anybody have ordered a car, had the car delivered, and not had the charger installed?
Yes, that was me. To start with, I have to admit, of all great things, I had a bit of a lead time between buying the car. Got really excited with it, and got it home, and I thought, I need to get this done. And that you can do it in an emergency, but it's not ideal. It's really slow. It's not the safest of ways of doing it, and so I'm a bit guilty of that. So yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for that loaded question. I didn't know that in advance, honestly. But look, the last year has been pretty challenging out there for most businesses and most industries. So what are the sort of changes you've seen in renewable energy industry? What sort of changes have you seen there?
I think fundamentally there's a big shift at the moment when we're looking at EV chargers, for instance, which is a really hot topic because people are really aware of electric cars and how the changes are going on. That there's this massive demand of electric cars, but there isn't really an infrastructure to support it. And in terms of that sort of erodes confidence in people buying electric. And so what the major shift is, the big energy companies, the EDF Energies, the Shell, the BP, they're starting to focus their attention on this. So not just renewable energy, but actually building the infrastructure. And that's changing the landscape pretty darn quick. Because you're not getting small businesses, small owners, sort of changing the market. These guys are coming in with bottomless pots of money and saying, this is what we're going to do, you have to follow suit. And that's a really big shift, and I think that will start really impacting on other technologies eventually, because it comes down to energy production. They're in control, and they dictate where we all go, really, in that sense.
Yeah, I suppose they're setting out the ground rules in the bar for everybody else to reach, I suppose, aren't they?
Exactly right.
So I mean, obviously during lockdown, we were coming out, we're hopefully well on our way out of lockdown.
Fingers crossed.
Are there any changes that lockdown forced you to make? I mean, I know your business is in infancy, but did you have to change any of your plans because of lockdown, or?
No, we definitely did. I think in terms of our launch, we're relatively new, but as I said, there was a fair bit of planning involved from the beginning of the year. And what we were challenging ourselves was that traditionally our industry is very face-to-face. It's the same principle across so many industries that we're now having phone calls, site assessments over the phone on our phone, a computer, whatever it may be, and it makes it so it takes away that slight personal edge, but you're incredibly efficient, which there's always a trade-off there. Obviously you still have to meet people, and we were looking at how we interact with our clients, how we make it easier for them, and that was a big consideration. Where do we spend our money on transport and having the right vehicles, or do we have the right infrastructure for software and IT? And the truth is we have to have a bit of both, but it's way more computer now. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think there still needs an element of that, seeing someone in the flesh, to have that connection.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll always be face-to-face contact. I think you're right. But I think, as you've described there, what lockdown's done is it's reduced the carbon footprint for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
Because business now can be done, and as we're talking now, it can be done over Zoom or various different other, and it won't be long before I'd have thought certain technologies, as you said, will come into play, which will make that even easier.
Definitely right, and it's even down to a number of the clients, by the nature of like talking about EV and the sustainable side, that it typically goes towards perhaps the older generation, the people a little bit more capital to spend and invest in their homes than perhaps an 18-year-old. That transition in the technology is quite interesting. I had a video call with a gentleman in his late 60s this morning that 6 months ago you just wouldn't think of it, and he felt quite comfortable. He's sort of walking around his garden and showing me bits, and I was kind of like, this is brilliant. It was a real shift actually in that sense.
Yeah, this is the future, but that's only because everybody over 50 has been forced to understand technology.
True. Yeah. Whether they like it or not, to be fair.
Whether they like it or not, yeah, they've had to get a grip of it. So how have you and your business sort of prepared for the reopening of the economy? Have you done anything different or anything special for the reopening?
I suppose ultimately not massively, to be fair. We're being empathetic with businesses that are maybe working from home, and not trying to sort of just assume it all goes back to normal. I think the biggest thing at the moment for us is understanding how people have changed their business practices and their models and their expectations, and then try to be a bit more fluid with that. So rather than saying it's always been like this is how you do it, we're having to take a step back and say, right, okay, let's learn a little bit and try and work with clients rather than put our own agenda on it. So that is a bit of a shift in mindset for sure. Yeah,
and I think it's a very sensible one, because empathy is important these days. It's not just in how you align yourself to other businesses, but in terms of how you communicate with them, your marketing materials, everything requires some sort of form of empathy within amongst that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big difference.
No, absolutely it does. What opportunities do you think lie out there now for businesses? Now that business is kind of returning to full operation, the pubs are opening nearly fully, you can go inside the pub now. What do you think the opportunities are there?
I think there's a lot of opportunity in terms of people want to get back to an element of normality, but they're willing to invest a little bit again. They're seeing a bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. They can see things moving in the right direction, albeit maybe not as quick as they want. And people are saying, you know what, we have to get back on track to where we want to get to, because people have goals, people have ambitions of where they want to be. And talking to a lot of the clients that we are talking to, they're all in a similar mindset. They're saying, look, it was a dreadful time. We've got our bumps and scrapes to prove it, but actually we're now looking ahead to a year's time, and we're going to invest in a new premises. We're going to move, we're going to redevelop this house, we're going to add in a car charge because I want to upgrade my car. And so these discussions it's almost opening a bit of a Pandora's box. People are having the conversation, and I believe that the more that happens, the more people build confidence, and they start saying, oh, Jim's doing so and so. I was thinking about that a few years ago. Maybe I'll have a look at it again. Yeah. And some of the stuff that we've picked up as a result of that, just good momentum, I suppose, has been fantastic so far.
Yeah, no, I think that's, yeah, I think you're right. I think the confidence piece will play a big part in terms of the economy returning to some sort of. It's not saying the economy is unstable. It's not, but in terms of flourishing, I think that confidence level is going to play a big part in that. Absolutely. Yeah,
definitely. And we've looked at a few in terms of like financing and funding. That's been an interesting one, where you've got new alternative lenders coming in, being a bit more agile, and then you go to the traditional big banks saying, oh, we, unless you're blue chip, then we're not interested. And that can be demoralizing, but equally there are really good people out there that are finding a way, which is brilliant to see, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. So from your perspective, what are you most looking forward to now that we're returning to normal, or semblance of normal?
What am I most excited about? I'm probably most excited about seeing how fast we can run together as a team, really. You know, we have very different skill sets and very different mindsets as well. And you know, he reins me back in, and I'm the hare, you know, the hare and the tortoise. I'm really looking forward to how that can work together. And it's our own business, so we're doing something for ourselves, fundamentally, and that's really exciting. In a market that is going great guns, and you know, we've got lots of support. So it's just, yeah, we're really lucky that we made a decision that was pretty bold, really. Probably isn't when you look back, it's like it's obvious, but in the moment it's quite scary. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing how it pans out, and I'm ever the optimist on these things. So maybe proven wrong one day, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, starting your own business is a big leap. It's a big step to take. So, you know, that's off to both of you. Absolutely. Is there anything you'd like to say or share with your customers or prospective customers?
I think especially locally, there are lots of really good businesses locally that can support. That was one thing I maybe was a bit naive to initially when I first started, and you know, getting out of there, asking the question, networking with people. You know, there's lots of really good businesses that are working in our sector, you know, the renewables, and I think if you've ever got a question or you've got any sort of doubts about things, just ask a few people, and you'll find a really good solution eventually. But there's lots of people out there willing to support, which is a really it's quite enlightening, really. It's quite nice. It's quite surprising when times are difficult. So get out there and get networking.
Get networking and asking those questions. Well, that's brilliant. Look, it's a real interesting story. You know, 2 months in, you know, it's all gun ho, it's all exciting. You're moving at pace. Your brother's having to hold you back a bit, but you're
feels like a honeymoon.
You're fighting against the rains and want to go faster. It all sounds really exciting. It's been fantastic having you on here, Kristian, and sharing your insights around renewable energy with me this afternoon as well. So, look, thank you very much for you know, your participation and your openness.
Thanks very much for having me, Martin. It's a pleasure to have a chat.
It is indeed, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Yes, bye.